Right now, what's going on, people? It's Josh, aka Foresight, and we are not of the culture. We follow biblical truth instead of cultural trends. All right, so I don't know if you guys heard, but it was recently announced that Twitter or X will be allowing adult content to be posted on their app. Now, if you know, like I know, people have already been doing that for a long time, but I guess they just wanted to make it official. In a press release, they said they believe users should be able to create, distribute, and consume material related to sexual themes as long as it's consensually produced and distributed. You know, this might sound controversial, but in a world where everyone is hyper focused on their online presence and persona, it might just be time for some of us to get off. You know, the world is getting crazier and crazier. And, you know, the content on social media is, becoming more and more indecent, right? People have become obsessed with posting and consuming content online. And as a result, they're being directly or indirectly exposed to all sorts of pictures and videos. In order to navigate these conditions as a Christian, you might have to unfollow certain accounts, spend less time scrolling on these apps, or delete them altogether, right? As followers of Christ, we got to be mindful of the types of pages and accounts that we subscribe to in the first place, right? I just recently realized that reality myself. A few years ago, I started auditing the accounts that I followed on social media, and I realized that I followed a bunch of nonsense that I did not need to be following, right? There were pages that I followed from 5-10 years ago before I was even saved that I don't even remember following, right? And I was still giving them permission to put whatever they want on my timeline. What I noticed is a lot of pages intentionally post content that is intended to cause you to stumble, right, in your walk with Christ, especially on Twitter. They know that sex sells and that, obscene videos will, drive the numbers up. That's what they do. Everybody is focused on getting as many views and comments as possible, and they know that these types of things do it, so they make it their mission to post salacious material, right? So we got to take it upon ourselves to guard our ears and guard our eyes, because the truth of the matter is most of us aren't as strong as we'd like to believe, right? Even if you got a tremendous amount of self-control, it's still not wise to willingly put yourself in situations where it's easy for you to stumble. Even though unfollowing certain accounts can be beneficial, it still may not be a complete fix, right? An even better way to limit the amount of explicit content that you might be exposed to on social media is to simply spend less time browsing around on these apps. Most of us spend way too much time on social media, myself included. I literally had to create a schedule where I can't go on before a certain time and I got to get off after a certain time. And sometimes I'll still ignore that schedule that I created because social media is just so addictive, right? But when I do stick to it, it makes a big difference. The reality is the more time you spend scrolling, the more likely it is that you'll run across content that just isn't good for you and might even be spiritually damaging. Everybody is fighting for your attention, right? And they'll do literally anything to get it. And the devil is roaming around like a roaring lion. So we got to be mindful. You know, taking time away from these apps is good because it forces you to find something more productive to do. You know, I get so much more done when I'm off my phone. It's crazy. But, you know, if limiting your screen time still isn't quite enough for you, you might have to do something even more drastic than that. You know, in some cases, it might be necessary to remove these platforms from your phone completely, right? Not everyone can handle the constant temptation that exists on social media. You know, sometimes it's just too much. There's crazy stuff being posted 24/7, especially on Twitter, right? Twitter was the one for me. You know, I had to delete Twitter off my phone because, you know, it was just causing me to act in ways that were not Christ-like, you know, to say the least. Twitter has a very argumentative culture, and people love to gang up on other people, right? And it creates a very toxic environment. On top of that, they will gladly put some nudity right on your timeline when you least expect it. So if you already struggle with watching, you know, those types of videos, Twitter will definitely cause you to sin. You know, so we just got to be real with ourselves and take the necessary measures to resist sin. You know, Jesus said in Matthew chapter 5, if your right eye causes you to stumble, gouge it out and throw it away. It's better for you to lose one part of your body than for your whole body to be thrown into hell. Now, obviously, he was speaking hyperbolically here, but that's how serious it is, right? We can't take these things lightly. You know, if you can't take the heat, you gotta get out the kitchen. You know, in order to walk with Jesus, you gotta be ready and willing to walk away from some things. You know, if you follow a certain account that causes you to sin, get rid of it. You know, if the temptation is still there, then reduce the amount of time that you spend online. After that, if you still find yourself wrestling with certain impulses, it might just be best for you to remove yourself entirely. At the end of the day, following Christ is way more important than worrying about followers on social media. Anyway, get in the comments. Let me know what y'all think. Make sure you like and subscribe. The link to my music and the link to my Instagram will be down in the description. Make sure you check those out. And I'll catch y'all next time. All right now,